afternoon's top stories. The importance of safety and security standards underscored at the 39th ICAO or ICAO Assembly. China pledges to renovate Convention Center in Guyana, and police opened fire on students in South Africa. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Today is Wednesday, the 5th of October 2016. I am Shaira Flanders. Nationally, Special Advisor in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in St. Kitts and Nevis, Lorna Hunkins, has underscored the importance of safety and security standards in civil aviation at the 39th Triennial Assembly of the International Civil Aviation Organization, or ICAO, which is being held in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, from the 27th of September to October 7th, 2016. Speaking to the Assembly on October 4th, Ms. Hunkins thanked the ICAO for the training that it offers, but called on the UN agency to offer more training, especially within CARICOM, or Caribbean Community, or the OECS, Organization of Eastern Caribbean States. In her closing remarks, Ms. Hunkins applauded the ICAO for its No Country Left Behind initiative, but called on the agency to be more inclusive. St. Kitts and Nevis will welcome regional and international counterparts later this year for the ICAO technical meeting, Ms. Hunkins said. The International Civil Aviation Organization is a UN specialized agency established by states in 1944 to manage the administration and governance of the Convention on International Civil Aviation, or Chicago Convention. Keeping the environment clean is paramount to the reduction of mosquitoes, says Chief Environmental Health Officer in the Ministry of Health, Alexander Riley. He made the comments while appearing on the most recent edition of Working For You. He also explained that an environment where there is a collection of water for mosquitoes to lay their eggs will produce adult mosquitoes within 7 to 10 days after eggs have hatched.
So imagine a mosquito laying eggs 3 to 4 times a week once it gets a blood meal. Then you know what we're having. So it is very important that the general public and even our officers, when they go out there, to ensure that anywhere that can breed mosquito, we try to educate the persons, because some people might be storing water for other purposes. So we have to find a way to get them to understand that even though you're keeping water for some other purposes, it's important that you take the necessary steps to ensure that you don't breed mosquitoes.
The Chief Environmental Health Officer stated that something as small as a bottle cover can breed millions of mosquitoes in a short space of time. Mr. Riley said that it is known that currently there are premises that are unsanitary, especially empty lots.
We are aware of the fact that we have situations out there. Premises are kept very unsanitary. We also have the issue of empty lots. The empty lots, people might think that they can't breed mosquitoes, but they do breed mosquitoes, because what we find is that because of some of our cultural habits, bad habits, we tend to dump things on people a lot.
Yes.
And it's very important. We are not creating an environment that is conducive for us, but it's conducive to the vectors that can transmit diseases.
The Chief Environmental Health Officer encouraged persons to report unsanitary surroundings in the communities to help ensure a healthy and safe environment. The newest members of the teaching fraternity who joined the profession in September 2016 started in-service training on Tuesday, October 4th, following the launch of the training at the Irishtown Primary School last week. The sessions, geared at making the new teachers more equipped to, quote, function effectively in the classroom, have been organized by the Ministry of Education and will run the course of 1 year, according to Deputy Chief Education Officer Mr. Darrell Lloyd. Mr. Lloyd explained that the ministry had made, quote, a number of preparatory steps by way of pre-interview, pre-service training, and a final round of interviews to ensure that the appropriate candidates were selected for the academic year 2016 to 2017. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Mr. Vincent Hodge, referring to the new school cohort as a professional learning community, said they would be engaged in activities such as lesson planning, classroom management, dealing with discipline, as well as steps to attaining professionalism as a teacher. Instructional approaches taking place on Tuesdays from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. at the Irishtown Primary School will include lectures, PowerPoint presentations, simultations, group projects, case studies, problem-based learning, and collaborative learning. And on the regional scene, the renovation of the Arthur Chung Convention Center in Guyana is expected to begin by year-end. This was part of several announcements made during a ceremony to mark the founding of the People's Republic of China. Javon Vickery has that report.
China's ambassador to Georgetown has announced that China will be providing 100 scholarships for Guyanese to study in China. This will be the second batch for 2016. Ambassador Zhang Limin noted that apart from the deployment of a new batch of medical personnel to Guyana, the government of China will be moving to renovate the Arthur Chung Convention Center, which was built by the Chinese. Ambassador Zhang's comments were made last Friday evening at the Chinese embassy in Georgetown on the occasion of the 67th anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic of China. The ambassador further noted that with the growth of Ghana's oil and gas sector, Ghana will enjoy prosperity and an expansion of sectors including technology.
Ladies and gentlemen, Guyana is a country full of hope and potential. This year, Guyana celebrated 50th anniversary of independence and is standing at a new historical starting point. I believe that with the development of oil and gas exploration, ICT, tourism, and other emerging industries, Guyana will enjoy prosperity with each passing day in international construction, just like the red flowers are flamboyant.
Meanwhile, President David Granger, in extending his gratitude to the people of China, explained that the two nations will continue to work together to strengthen relations.
Guyana has observed with keen interest China's introduction of its 13th five-year plan for 2016 to 2020, which committed to achieving a green economy by introducing green low-carbon industries, expanding sustainable energy sources, extending forest protection, and establishing a green development fund.
Chinese indentured immigrants first arrived in Ghana in 1853. Javon Vickery, HGP Nightly News.
Two brothers perished in a vehicular accident at the Friendship Road on the east bank of Demerara. A third person hospitalized. Handel Duncan tells us more.
Tragedy struck at the heart of the Armstrong family sometime after midday on Saturday, when two siblings died on the spot after their vehicle was hit by a truck. Nightly News understands that the vehicle was being navigated around the turn when the driver lost control on the slippery roadway and ended up in the path of a truck. The bodies of the young men remained inside the vehicle for some time. Late Saturday afternoon, relatives journeyed from Linden to the capital city. Behind me here at Friendship on the east bank of Demerara is where the accident took place, where these two young men lost their lives. The two brothers, Janelle and Philip, were headed to Linden reportedly to assist in the repainting and cleaning up of their parents' home. While the family requested that images of their home should not be shown on Sunday during our visit to the house, it was evident that preparations were being made for the painting and other works. A cousin of the brothers, Anthony Bell, who was not keen to discuss details of the accident, tells how he remembers the youths.
Janelle are my cousins, Janelle and Philip. And Janelle was a very nice guy. Especially in his community, a lot of people know him well. He was very jovial. He was a kind person to everybody. Ian, he was very quiet, short-spoken, but he was a real pleasant young man. And when this news occurred, it shocks the entire Linden.
Based on what I read, that they were doing well at school also.
Yeah, especially Janelle. He was this type of person who always wanted to go ahead. He always wanted to do something more.
The youth's mother declined an on-camera interview. She simply said that God is in charge when asked how she was coping with the death of her sons. During our visit to Watuka Linden, there was a constant flow of visitors to the home. Up to last evening, the driver of the truck was in police custody. Philip Armstrong was reportedly a medical student, while Janelle was said to be an aeronautical engineer student. Handel Duncan, HGP Nightly News.
And on the international scene, U.S. vice presidential candidates Mike Pence and Tim Kaine argued over a range of issues during their debate in Farmville, Virginia. but they did agree on some issues, as Al Jazeera's Shihab Ratansi reports from Farmville.
Both Donald Trump's vice presidential choice, Mike Pence, and Hillary Clinton's pick, Tim Kaine, are noted for their calmness, but within minutes they were repeating their respective campaigns' talking points over each other.
Let's talk about the state of the world. Let me interrupt you and finish my sentence if I can.
And there were awkward pre-planned attempts at sloganeering.
Do you want a "you're hired" president in Hillary Clinton, or do you want a "you're fired" president in Donald Trump?
I appreciated the "you're hired, you're fired" thing. Senator, you used that a whole lot.
Clinton's record on foreign policy was frequently attacked by Pence.
We see entire portions of the world, particularly the wider Middle East, literally spinning out of control. The newly emboldened the aggression of Russia, whether it was in Ukraine or now their heavy-handed approach.
Kaine consistently relied on an old Clinton defense.
Under Secretary Clinton's leadership, she was part of the national team, public safety team, that went after and revived the dormant hunt against bin Laden and wiped him off the face of the earth.
But in a surprise for supporters of Donald Trump, both agreed on a Syrian policy that the Pentagon has told Congress would involve a massive U.S. military campaign of bombing and troop deployment.
Immediately establish safe zones. And secondly, I just have to tell you that the provocations by Russia need to be met with American strength.
Hillary and I also agree that the establishment of a humanitarian zone in northern Syria would be a very, very good idea.
It was noticeable, too, that Pence was particularly outspoken against Russian President Vladimir Putin, whom Donald Trump has praised, calling him small, bullying, and a dictator.
And when Donald Trump is president of the United States, we're not going to have the kind of posture in the world that has Russia invading Crimea and Ukraine, that has the Chinese building new islands in the South China Sea, that has literally the world, including North Korea, flouting American power. We're going to go back to the days of peace through strength.
On Trump's refusal to release his tax returns amid speculation that he hasn't paid any in recent years, Pence's use of a Republican talking point was ridiculed by Kaine.
We have a tax code, Senator, that actually is designed to encourage entrepreneurship.
But why won't he release his tax return?
Well, we're answering the question about the business thing.
So it's smart not to pay for our military. It's smart not to pay for veterans.
On domestic issues, there were no real surprises on law and order, a woman's right to choose an abortion, immigration, even personal faith. And perhaps that was meant to be the point, as the main role of a vice president at a debate like this is to first do no harm to their own campaign. Shihab Ratansi, Al Jazeera, Farmville, Virginia.
Student protests at WITS University in South Africa have turned ugly as police opened fire with rubber bullets and stun grenades. Johnny Nelson tells us more.
Thousands of protesters gather in the streets outside South Africa's Wits University, demonstrating against higher tuition fees. But it's not long before the scenes turn an uglier colour and a peaceful protest becomes a war zone. Armed police arrive to enforce a court order against public gathering at the campus, unleashing a barrage of tear gas, stun grenades and rubber bullets on the crowd.
We've just been opened fire with stun grenades, tear gas, totally unprovoked. We were just marching as students. They've now trapped us in a small space, and we are non-violent.
People here are frustrated, some feeling that higher education is still prohibited to wealthy white families over 2 decades after apartheid ended. When the government announced last month that tuition fees would continue to rise, tensions were perhaps destined to boil over. University administrators have warned that any further freezes to fees could damage their academic programmes. But for many in these scenes, they'd simply like the opportunity to learn.
Ignition. Lift off.
If you don't represent women in politics.
And now for the weather. Conditions today are cloudy. Winds are moderate at 12 miles per hour from the east-southeast. Seas are moderate to locally rough with waves up to 7 feet. The weather today and tonight will be partly cloudy to cloudy with a chance of a few showers developing. Sunset today will be at 5:57 p.m. and the sunrise tomorrow will be at 6:02 a.m. That brings us to the end of the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am Shaira Flanders. Have a good day.